We've all heard the phrase automate and outsource. So if I offered to take over one part of your business in exchange for 10% of the profit, would you do it? 10% is a common commission for realtors who sell land. And while this sounds like a princely amount of money, it may be worth it. On today's episode of the Land.MBA podcast, Dave and I are going to go deep on the pros and cons, the do's and don'ts, the hows and how not to's of working with realtors.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the Land.MBA podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Howard Zonder, and yours truly, David Van Steenkiss. How's everybody today?
I'm listening. The audience is not responding, but my psyche says that they're doing great. Although I have to say I'm squinting a little bit because you obviously have some light facing you, and it's bouncing off your forehead right into my eyeballs. So maybe it's time to go powder your head. I'm not quite sure.
Maybe wear a ball cap. I can get my headphones back on.
All right. Well, while he's doing that, if you enjoy the Land.MBA podcast and the kind of information we provide, we certainly do try to provide the very best and go deep on topics and not hold anything back. So if you do enjoy that, please rate, review, and subscribe, both on your favorite podcast app, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, whatever, as well as on YouTube. It really, really helps us. It moves the algorithms. It gets us further reach, makes it even more possible for us to get great guests on. And even if you don't enjoy the podcast and you're just here because you've got nothing better to do, by golly, just go and rate, review, and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to us, and it would help us continue to deliver this great content for free.
Howard, I have a question for you.
I have an answer. Let's see if they match.
How do you know?
3.
Should you use a realtor to sell your land? And if so, when?
That is an interesting question. I would say that somewhere above 99% of people that first come into this business do not. They tend to do two things on their own. One is they use their own money, and two, they do all the work themselves, and they don't want to use realtors, probably for a couple of reasons. One is they may have not had great experiences working with realtors, buying or selling houses. Or they don't want to pay the commission, or they just don't know how to find somebody that's going to be really useful to them. And I think as people get more advanced in the business, I wouldn't say a ton of people use realtors, but definitely some do. And the ones that do, I think, have really made it work to their advantage. We recently had Mitch Milam on the podcast. He uses a realtor, has done so to great effect. So I think it's definitely something we should be evaluating as another arrow in our quiver.
Yeah, for sure. I've certainly been talking to a lot more people who are finding realtors who are, there's only a small fraction of them that are good at land, but finding that good one is, I've talked to many people who that is coming up in spades for them. And the other issue, I think, is that people think, well, my property's too cheap, because part of when we're buying properties, part of our mantra is that, look, we're buying, we're buying and selling properties that are so cheap that, the commission's virtually nothing on them. So they're not interested in selling them. And that is true. That is true. So, where are you finding kind of that price point that makes sense, like 25, 30 grand and up? Or
I think it really depends upon the area. The area is probably the most important thing. So if you're in an area where both land, where houses are fairly expensive and the market's pretty hot, it's going to be hard to get a lot of attention for cheaper land deals for sure. But when you get out into those rural areas, I think that land represents a larger percentage of the overall transactions. And the average price of a land transaction, you look at the average price of a house transaction, it's not as far apart as it is in certainly in places like where I live in Connecticut. So in those places, I think it would be a lot easier to find a realtor that would be interested. That said, it also depends upon what kind of land you're going after. I mean, if you're going after expensive land, you've got a much better shot than if you go after cheaper land. What is the price point? It depends on the area. I mean, if I was in Elko County, Nevada, it would be I don't know, probably in the 15, $20,000 range. I might be able to get somebody's interest if there was some volume and it wasn't just a one-off. In other places, it could be quite a bit higher.
Right, right. Very good. So what are some of the pros and cons of using a realtor?
Yeah, I think that's really what we need to explore a little bit more. There are pros and there are cons. It actually might be interesting to talk about the cons first.
Okay.
Um, I think the obvious one is people don't want to pay the commission, and commissions in on houses are typically 6%. If you're a good negotiator, you might be able to get it for less. I would say on average, the commission in land is around 10%. So it's already higher just based on the commission rate, which is necessary because we're talking about smaller numbers. So we got to be paying people enough money to at least get their interest.
Yeah, yeah. Now I've found on a couple of realtors that I've worked with that um, in the higher end properties, I mean, over 50,000, 50, 100,000, you're able to get them to do it, a lot of them to do it for 6%. But, below a certain price, there just needs to be enough juice in the squeeze to make it worth their time. And you want it to be worth their time because you want them to work hard for it. You want them to get that property sold. There's no value in just them putting a listing up with, 2 lines of ad copy that we see frequently from realtors and not paying any attention to it. So we want them to be motivated. So I think, anything below a certain threshold, and that's always going to be negotiable and different with that different realtor. And like you said, different in the area. If you got an area where it's a dense area, maybe like you're in the some of these southeast areas where um, they don't have to drive that far if they wanted to show the property, etc. And also, if like you said earlier, if you've got some volume to give them, if you have more of a strategic relationship, which we'll talk about later. Um, but yeah, paying that commission. What else?
There is always the possibility that because the actual commission in real dollars to them may not be that big, that they're like you said, they're just not going to work that hard. Maybe they'll throw it up on the MLS, they'll put a price on it, and that's it. So I think realtors obviously want to have as many properties for sale as they can because every time they sell one, they make money. So if they're working for an owner of property to sell it, more traditional, not an investor, but somebody who just has owned the land for a while, yeah, they'll say, sure, I'll take it. And maybe they work with you to get a price. I think my experience or what I see is that they tend to price it too high, probably because they want to, at the beginning of the relationship, they want to put some dollar signs in people's eyes so that they can get the business. And then they throw it up on the MLS, but they don't do much more than that because they know it's a tough sale. And
Other
if they
than
get
lower
it,
the
great. And
price.
if not, no skin off their nose.
Right. But sometimes, many times the strategy is just, sell a big price, get the listing, and then when it doesn't sell, just keep dropping the price.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
um,
And I think though that as an investor, we're going to be much more on top of it. We're going to care because, well, because we want to move these properties as quickly as we can. And
right.
so I think we have to be careful. That means we've got to be careful, one, in the selection of who we use, but also the terms of our agreement to make sure that we are getting from them the level of activity that we really want on the marketing side. But that is
Yeah.
a risk.
Yeah. I would agree for sure. Okay. So commissions, marketing,
If you're listening to this podcast, you already know that land is a relatively unknown niche of the multi-billion-dollar real estate market with huge profit potential. Seriously, what other business delivers 200, 300, 1,000% return on investment deal after deal? If you're a realtor, wholesaler, or house flipper, you know that competition is rising and it's getting harder to source good investment properties. Many of our students have already created new revenue streams with land and added six figures to their incomes. You don't need another course that promises the moon and then delivers an elementary school education. You need a proven program suitable to your experience and ambition. You need a Land.MBA. The Land.MBA is everything you need to blow it out in the land business. Courseware, mentorship, tools, community, and even deal funding. Look, because you're here listening to me, you know that Dave and I don't hold anything back. That's a founding principle we've had from the beginning. With the Land.MBA, you get everything we have to offer. There are no upsells. And now, through popular demand, we have transformed our highly regarded one-to-one coaching program into a small group format at a fraction of the price. If you're ready to build a six-figure income with the freedom of being your own boss, go right now to www.land.mba/fortune. That's www.land.mba/fortune. Let us help you create your next path to wealth.
What about things like loss of control?
I think that's a big reason why a lot of people don't use realtors and other sometimes VAs or other people in their business is because they are afraid of losing too much control in their business.
Mhm.
And it's just the classic conversation about delegation. Delegation is a hard thing to learn in life because no one's ever going to do it as good as you are, and
In
no
your
one's going to
mind,
in your mind, right? Exactly. And no
most of
one's
the
going
time
to
they do
care
it
as
better.
much as you're going to care in your mind unless you create a process, a system, a commission structure, and everything else to make them care as much as you do.
Right.
And so, and even when you do all of that, you are still losing control because that's the very nature of delegation. So it's one of those things that, in order to follow this path, you have to get comfortable with it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Then, there's a lot, there's very few realtors who actually know land, and if somebody's, you happen to stumble upon one that is willing to take your listing, but they're new, you that's a stumbling point as well because you've got to find someone who knows land, knows the area, not just doing houses and and takes your listing
Right.
because it's a listing. Um,
Yeah, I think that if you've been in this business long enough, at some point when you're on the buy side, you're buying from somebody, and there may be a realtor involved, or even on the sell side. And when they do that, and this is not something that an arrangement that you've made, but it's an arrangement between either the seller of the property or the buyer property and a realtor on the other side of the negotiating table. Then they come in and they start saying, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that, and you've got to do this and you've got to do that. And they take all of the rules associated with single family homes, and there are a lot of them, and they're absolutely right about that. But then they try to apply it into land where they don't necessarily apply. And they don't know the difference because their entire experience has been with single family homes. And so there's always that risk that if somebody has not built up a track record of moving land as part of their portfolio, that they don't know that, frankly, the process is quite a bit simpler and it doesn't require all of the same legalities and rules that single family homes do, which is, why it's so important to find the right partner.
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is if they're in that situation, if where they're new and don't really understand land, they don't have a buyer's list. I interviewed a realtor the other day on a new area that I am evaluating. And by the way, that is, one of the key things to do when not to get down a rabbit trail, but when you're looking at a new area, um, it's a good thing to call local realtors and ask them, let them know what you do and that you're thinking about going into this area and looking for somebody to work with, and ask them where they would like to have land to sell, so you can focus on those areas of the county as well. Um, Now I forgot what I was going to actually, my actual point.
Well, while you're
But
thinking about that, I do have one, and that is, uh, if you've ever read the book Freakonomics, the original Freakonomics book, there's a great chapter in there about real estate. And the question they asked was, when your realtor is advising you whether to take an offer or not, is that the same advice that they give themselves when they're the owner of the property?
yeah,
And the guys that wrote that book looked at a buttload of data in the Chicago market, and what they found is that that it's different advice. And the reason would be because, let's just say that somebody offered you $10,000 below your asking price for a house. Well, out of that 10,000, the commission is 6%. So that's $600. But then it gets split between the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. So they may only be getting $300. And then they have to split it with their agency. So at the end of the day, of that $10,000, it's only $150 to them. They just want to get it moved and move on to the
yep,
next one. But when they're the owner of the property, they're going to get all 10,000 of it. So they get it. So their negotiating strategy is completely different. And the point of that is
good
that
point.
what you have to understand is that even when you engage a professional like a realtor, and even when they talk to you, ad nauseum about the code of ethics and how they're there to serve you and they're ethically required to do what's in your best interest, yes, that may be true, but in reality, they're serving themselves by serving you.
Yeah,
And if you don't hold their feet to the fire, they'll do what's in their best interest many times and not just what's in your interest. And I'll give you an example. When I first moved to Denver, I didn't know who to use as a realtor, and through a contact in New Jersey, I found a realtor in Denver who had moved there many years earlier from New Jersey, and we finally identified the house that I was going to buy. It was a new construction, and the house right across the alley was still the office of the builder. And I went in there, and my realtor was there, and the salesperson was there, and I did what I always do. I started to negotiate, and my realtor said, "Can I speak to you outside for a second?" And I said, "Sure." So we went outside, and she said, "I know this is how it works on the East Coast, but here in Denver, when they give you the price, that's the price. That's how it works out here." And I
no,
looked and
never.
I looked at her and I said, "I see." I said, "Can you do me a favor?" And she said, "What?" I said, "Can you go wait in the car until I'm done?" So she went and waited in the car, and I negotiated about $22,000 off the price of the house. So
I cannot believe that. That oh,
that's a
that
true
is
story.
just.
100% true.
What did she think? You just fell off the turnip truck? My God. Unbelievable. So, guys, the point, we're not trying to bash realtors at all. We're going to turn around and hit the pros. But
Yeah.
I remembered my point in that this realtor I spoke to said that I have got such a big buyer's list. They want property here, 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 and here. And everything I get, I sell right away right now. And so that's music to my ears, right?
Sure.
And so I'm not even going to hesitate. I will use her for any properties I get in that area. But she also gave me a big list of this subdivision, this area, these kind of acreages are, what,
Yeah. That's a certain
um,
kind of a realtor relationship, and we're going to definitely get into that.
absolutely.
So let's
So,
talk pros. Let me be the questioner for now.
all right.
So what are the advantages of, we've discussed why you shouldn't use a realtor, but why should you
Mhm.
use one?
Well, leveraging your time, number one, you know, um, even if you're just beginning, and you don't, you're working, if you're doing this part-time, and you've got time to build your mailers, and maybe you've got time to even write some you negotiate and get the deals under contract, and then send them to the title company and do all that stuff. Um, but you don't have the time to answer the phones. You're just starting. You don't have a lot of volume. You don't want to hire a Pat Live. You just want to be able to have somebody sell the properties for you, and you've got enough spread in the properties that you're willing to give up that commission. So that's a great way to outsource and automate your business, leveraging your time.
Yeah, very good. Very good point.
Another pro is what I just spoke about is that they bring a buyer's list. Especially when you're going into a new area where you haven't built up your own buyer's list yet. They're going to build that. They're going to have that buyer's list. They also provide the local knowledge, the boots on the ground knowledge, particularly, and we'll talk a little bit more about building a strategic relationship with them. But they can tell you where to buy versus also, so that, it's the areas that they want to sell. And they can tell you where to stay away from. And they can help you comping your properties and pricing your properties as well. There's a lot of advantages that they can provide. And some will go and walk and take your photos for you.
Yeah. And what about marketing? What can they do in marketing that's better than what you can do on your own?
Oh, that's probably the biggest advantage right there. So I'll separate it though. I think, so obviously they're going to put it on the MLS. So you're going to get the MLS and get it on other realtors' eyes, but you're also going that have buyers, but you're also going to have it syndicated out to all of the sites like, Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com and all of those big sites that we know get lots of traffic and lots of eyes on them. Of course we have you can have a Land.com subscription, but hell, if you wanted to just tailor your business around only using a realtor period, you don't need that expensive Land.com subscription. You're probably going to get enough leads depending on the area and quality of the realtor from all of that. Now, splitting it into two there, we have seen, one of the places that we bash realtors is that a lot of times, especially on the cheaper lots, we'll see, 2 lines of ad copy and a freaking screenshot. Now that's not an ad that a realtor's placing for an investor, because we're not going to allow that. It's, a retail seller that just wants to get rid of their land, and they put a couple screenshots out there because they're only going to make, it's such a cheap property. Maybe they're going to make very little on commission. And so I often wonder on those though, still, why they wouldn't come back to the seller and say, hey, you need to pay for some marketing photos. So you might go ahead and get your own photos done and get your own, especially if you want drone shots. You might even write the ad copy. Just depends on, I think it's going to depend on that individual realtor, how busy they are and how fast they get it done for you to get it up there, and how good they are at writing copy, so those are just things that are going to be up to that individual relationship. But at the end of the day, it's your property. You're the one trying to make the profits, so you got to drive the ship. Figure out your expectations with that realtor, and if they're like, well, I'm not great at this part, I'd rather you do that. Fine, do it, because even though you're paying them a nice commission, you're going to do that work one time, write the ad, spend a half an hour writing the ad copy, send it over to them, hire out the drone photographer and get that done. And then, you're done, but they're taking all the calls. They're doing all the interruptive stuff. The hiring the drone photographer and doing the ad copy is on a flexible schedule, which is what you want. You can do that sitting in bed, half an hour before you go to sleep, whatnot. And you're not getting interrupted all day, where sales calls, they completely interrupt your day.
Yeah. I look at a realtor and I say, look, at marketing is your job, right? Putting the ad, getting it on the MLS, getting the pictures nice, getting the copy written, getting it distributed so as many eyeballs see it as possible. That's your job. That's how you sell properties. And if you need my help to do that, that's fine. We can discuss that. But and this sounds harsh the way I'm going to say it, but of course, this is just a conversation. This is just a little bit of, how are we going to share the burden a little bit? If I'm going to take on some of that responsibility, I probably want something in return. Either I want something off the commission, or I want to negotiate something else. Like, all right, I'm also going to be marketing through my channels, and if I sell it, then I sell it, and I get to keep the commission. If you sell it, you get to keep your commission. How that negotiation turns out, who knows? But as an assumption, though, my assumption is that marketing is the job, and I really do kind of expect them to be able to step up in that area personally.
Well, so I agree with you on higher price properties. Uh, but if you have, a relationship with that realtor, maybe that where you're bringing them, if it's a one-off
Yeah,
or onesie twosie and it's a cheap property, you're going to give a little bit just to be able to get that property up. Or then, just decide you want to do a flat fee MLS instead of use a realtor so you can get it on the Zillow type
yeah, there are
platforms.
other ways to accomplish it, but I would say that and this is really gets into the realtor selection process. You could go look at the ads that they've got up there today to know what the quality of their marketing is. But are they sort of a one man band? Do they have their own little agency and they're it, or are they working for a larger firm, or do they just is it their agency but it's bigger? Have they built a machine where once they get a property into the machine, it just goes through the process? They've got copywriters, they've got people who post, they've got people who
Right.
do the social media. If that's the case, then you really are golden, because there's not you may be working with one realtor, but there's a machine behind them, and that's
Yeah,
that's valuable.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So, all right. So let's delve into the types of relationships. We've kind of categorized them as one-offs, a transactional relationship, a strategic relationship, um, yeah, those are the three relationships we've kind of set here.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about one-offs, Howard, and let's discuss that.
Yeah, so a one-off is I don't have a relationship with the realtor. I've got a property. Maybe it's a higher end property that I'd rather push through, or get the help of a realtor, or maybe I just don't have the time or the skills or the experience or the interest in selling it. It'd be really nice to have somebody else do that for me, and I'm happy to give them 10% in order to do that, to save me a lot of time and anxiety. Um, so in that case, it's kind of a one-off, and we're going to them no different than if we were selling our house and we went to them. And what typically happens in that situation is we end up playing by their rules in that relationship, because you're not bringing that much to the table to negotiate with.
Right.
Um, if you were bringing them a volume of deals, that might pique their interest more, and then you might be able to do something. But even that, it all, as the Chinese say, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So you got to start that trust building process probably in the traditional way before you get into and improve that you can bring the volume, and then you can start changing the rules a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, so
exactly. Because I think they get calls, realtors get calls from newbie investors all the time, in not just in land, but all over the place. They're trying to build their team and they're trying to get, information, and so they got to guard their time as well, and
yeah,
pick the low hanging fruit. And so cool. And then of course, we've got a bullet point in there that says exclusive or no. And then what if you sell it? So that's basically saying, do they get an exclusive if it's a one-off? I think yes. If it's a one-off, it's always an exclusive. I think if you have a strategic relationship where you're bringing them lots of deals, or you've got, let's say you did a split and you took a big property and broke it down, and now you've got 10, 20 parcels uh, that you're going to hand them. Now, I think you've got, and I know some people who are doing it this way, they do a non-exclusive agreement. If the deal comes from the realtor through their marketing channels and they get it under contract, they get the deal. If the deal comes through your own marketing channels and you internally get it under contract, you get the deal. But that's in more of the strategic relationship versus the one-off. And so what about commission rates on a one-off as well? We're probably going to be paying more towards the 10%, especially in the cheaper properties.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll
100%.
negotiate on the
100%.
higher end property, you might be able to do 6%, but or somewhere in the middle.
But I mean, higher end is ranches. Yeah. I mean, maybe if it was 100,000 plus, maybe. But I think generally speaking, it's going to be at the higher end. And if it's the lower end, so I guess the question is, let's just say you can find somebody who's willing to do it at 6%. Should you do it?
True. And I've talked to numerous people who say, that is I think that's strategic though. You want to make sure people are taken care of and motivated.
Right.
And if there's enough money in the deal for you, be generous and you'll have that person working hard for you.
Right.
If it's below, 20, 25, yeah, if it's below 25 grand, I say, you should be paying 10%, unless, like I said, you have a bunch of properties you're bringing to them.
Right. Well, we're still on the one-off section here. So
True,
I would,
true.
yeah, there's a saying in stock investing, the bulls and the bears make money and the pigs get slaughtered. So we don't need to be pigs here. I mean, there's always a lot of margin in a land deal. And our goal, I mean, our goal is to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And what we want to accomplish is selling a property quickly at a price that we like. That's what's important. Much more important than the commission. In the big scheme of things, if a person at 10% gets the property sold quickly at a price we like versus 6% where it takes a lot longer and maybe we don't get the price we like, that's worse. I'd rather pay the 10%. So
Right.
when selecting, so it really gets into selecting the right realtor is much more important than whether it's 6% or 10%.
Absolutely. I mean, you select the right one, you pay them 10, and they sell it twice as fast or 3 times as fast. Well, you've gained something on your money because you've turned that money quicker now. So, you pay 6%, it takes you 6 months to sell it, or you pay 10%, it takes you, 60 days to sell it. The velocity of your money is something to think about too.
100%. Yep.
All right.
And then as far as something like a performance clause in there, what I might try to do is I would say the first time you work with somebody, it's generally going to be hard to get them off their boilerplate terms. But the one term that you can effectively negotiate is the term. And so I might put a shorter term on there because I want to. It works both ways. I mean, they're learning you, you're learning them, and you don't want to get locked into a 1 year commitment and then find out they're not doing the job. So if you get like a 3 month commitment, that probably would be a lot better.
Yeah, 3, I think 6 is a pretty common. 3's kind of short, but
It is. I mean, it's so three would be what you'd negotiate for, and 6 would be what you'd be probably okay to get.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. All right. So transactional relationships. This is a little bit longer term. Let's talk about that a little bit.
So this is where you've got a little bit of machine on your side, and you're generating a lot of inventory, and you want to move it quickly, and you've got inventory coming in rather frequently, and you want somebody who's capable of moving those properties for you. So now you are able to legitimately and credibly go to them and say, I can deliver you volume. And now you've got some negotiating wiggle room. on the terms. You can wiggle on the commission. You can wiggle on the whether it's exclusive or not. There are a number of items that you can negotiate on. But the important thing is you're starting to move from a very transactional one-off deal to a relationship. It's still kind of a transactional relationship. You send them the property, they sell the property. And that's the exchange of value, right? They're gonna sell the property for you. It's gonna save you time, and in exchange for that, you're gonna give them a commission. Um, it's a little different than what we're going to talk to in a minute, which is the strategic partnership, which I think has a more exchange of value than this. So I think that the commission can be based on volume, but again, I'm not so concerned about the 6 or 10%. In fact, I might prefer to pay them the larger commission because land is, unless they specialize in land, it's never going to be as important as the single family homes or multifamily homes because the numbers are smaller. And so I do want to make sure that I'm getting their attention. They're working hard for me. And I want to build that relationship. And by doing that, and you can't, it's hard to build a relationship when you're trying to squeeze people. So
Yeah.
if I'm going to pay them a little bit more on the commission, that entitles me to demand more service and in that relationship. And I think there's just an understood. You don't even have to say it. It's an expectation that just you don't even have to talk about too much.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but the other terms I might want to negotiate.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I agree with you totally.
Hey, folks, people often talk about automating and outsourcing your land flipping business, but what does that really mean? Generic solutions leave it to you to figure out how to set up and maintain the automations. I've been running my land business on LandSpeed for over 3 years because it's a total solution and allows me to focus on being a great land investor. LandSpeed was built specifically for land investing by a land investor. And with many of the most successful people in the business using it for years, it's evolved into one of the most feature-rich solutions on the market. Some of the key benefits I get are being able to create and manage mail campaigns and neighbor letters. I'm able to automate tasks amongst my team, create contracts and deeds, and email, text, or mail them within a few clicks. I can automatically capture sales leads from any lead source, including Facebook Messenger. Then it automatically pushes those leads into my sales funnel so that I can manually follow up, but they also go into my automated drip campaign. And since LandSpeed's a total cloud-based solution, I can run my business from anywhere in the world with a phone, laptop, or tablet. So if you want to turn your hobby into a professional, scalable business, just go to landspeedtech.com/Dave to receive a $150 discount today.
And it's interesting. I this thought just popped into my head as well, and I can't quantify this, but I'm believing that it's probably true, and that one of the reasons also why I think we're seeing a lot more activity with realtors amongst land investors these days is because the inventory in housing is so tight everywhere.
Mm,
They need more things to sell.
yeah.
And so I think realtors are all, adding arrows to their quiver.
And it's funny if you
Uh,
think about it. In the land business, obviously we've got two halves of it. The first half is acquiring properties. The second half is marketing and selling properties. Um, and it really starts with the acquisition because if we don't build some inventory, we got nothing to sell, which means we're not making any money. Same thing is
Right.
true of realtors, except that they're in a broker role, which means they don't have a ton of control in that acquisition process. It's all for them about relationship and brand building so that they can get people like us who will own the properties to bring them in inventory. So it really, we're providing a tremendous service to them if we can bring volume to the table. It smooths out the peaks and valleys of the single family home market. It's just an additional revenue stream that they might not have originally expected to get. And it's a powerful tool to bring to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So now we get into strategic relationship, the third and final category. And let's talk about that a little bit, where, the realtor is going to serve as a strategic partner on the buy side and the sell side, not necessarily helping out with the purchase side transactions, although that happens occasionally. But if you develop that good relationship with the boots on the ground, you may pick up a pocket deal here and there that they're out and about and they find out about. But it's really more about them having a big buyer base and them knowing the areas and what they want to sell, what they can sell, and coaching you on which areas to go after. So, maybe you don't mail the whole county. Maybe you just focus on some strategic areas within that county that are really selling. What
Exactly.
else
I
on
mean,
that?
every partnership, again, I'd use the phrase, it's about an exchange of value. And if there is an imbalance in the exchange of value, partnerships fall apart, or they have to be adjusted so that they get back into equilibrium. When we get into that strategic relationship, it's the same thing, is that each party's providing more to the other. And the difference between the transactional relationship and the strategic relationship is that it's the realtor who's now stepping up and able to provide more value back to you. They're not simply a sales and marketing machine to help you move your properties. They have the buyers list. They've got the machine. They are coming to you and saying, "Look, these are the kinds of properties I need. These are the locations I need them. If you can provide me with these, I can move them. I can move them fast." Exactly what Dave was talking about in the new deal he's got going on right now. So when somebody can bring you that's a ready-made market, and all you have to do is fulfill it. Huge, huge value, a completely different kind of relationship. I'm more than happy to pay 10% for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you can, once you've built that relationship, you can ask them to pull MLS comps for you, MLS sold comps, so that you can to help price your mailers, in addition to, what you're scraping off of the sites, and especially if you're working in non-disclosure states. That's a really,
Yeah,
really helpful.
really, that's a great point, because I always say that whether it's a non-disclosure state, and there are other issues in the business which just make life hard. Like, for example, let's just say the only way to get a copy of a deed is you have to physically go to the courthouse. Well, if that courthouse is in no man's land, New Mexico, and I live up here in the Northeast, that's hard to do. But all of those problems are like double-edged swords, right? They
Yeah,
make life
yep,
hard, but if you're the one who can overcome them, you're going to be in a position with a lot less competition, because most people can't overcome them.
or are not willing to.
Or not willing to. And if there's a way, and so the problem that you just raised is you're in a non-disclosure state, it's hard to get information. But if you're working with somebody locally who really knows the market and can provide you that kind of information, hugely powerful and beneficial, because you can play in a market that doesn't have nearly as much competition.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And
The
that,
other thing that you just stirred the thought in me is that when you have that kind of a relationship with somebody and you have confidence in them that they really do know the market, and they in at least that part of the market, and they really understand pricing and they have access to data. Now you've got somebody to run something against. So, like, you're in a negotiation on the buy side, and you want to just either get the comps from them or have them is just I wouldn't necessarily say what I'm paying for it, but I would say, hey, I need your help to figure out what the market value of that property is. That's all I need to know, is the market value. And if they can
yeah,
help with that, and they oftentimes can, now you've got that sort of strategic sharing relationship.
Yeah. I like to ask them, hey, what price would you
You
be
sell it
able to
for.
sell it for in, less than 90 days? That's kind of my,
That's a
uh,
great question.
so just to tell. So that rolls us into how to find a good realtor. I think that, you know, from what we've built discussing previously, for example, when you interview them, I mean, first you got to find them. So I like, you can go on Zillow and look for realtors, and I like to filter it by solds in the area, and look through there, sift through there on who has sold multiple deals. You can also, there's other sites that you can look at as well, but Zillow is a good one. And but whenever possible, if I know people in the business who are working with realtors in areas that I might be playing as well, I'll try to get a referral. And that's worked for me on a couple of times. And the nice thing about getting that referral is that you instantly have a little bit of rapport with that realtor when you call them up, especially if you have that referral partner connect you via email or text or something. Say, hey, this dude's going to call you, and he's the real deal, and wants to needs a local realtor. That's very helpful in uh, getting the realtor to make time for you, especially if they're busy.
Right. And Zillow is great because it provides two things. One is it allows you to really hone in on certain locations, certain areas, and certain property types based on either value or size. And then within that limited group of properties, then you go in and look at the solds and the ones that are sold by realtors, which now are probably the majority of what's on Zillow. And then you can see who the realtors are, and that gives you a list, which you get down to a short list, and then the short list you will then go and perhaps interview, just the way you would do it if you were getting a realtor to sell your house. But the other thing that Zillow does is it allows you to look at the ads. And so you can see the quality of what's going up there in terms of pictures and copy. And so there's one, get the list. Two, you can figure out in that very refined search criteria who are the ones that are selling the majority of the properties, because those are probably the ones you're going to go to. That's going to be your short list. And then you can look at the quality of the marketing that they're doing, at least on that platform.
Yeah,
And it's a good start.
absolutely. And if they tell you they're working with they're working with some other land investors or another land investor, and you found them on Zillow, get and always ask them that. Ask them if they're working with any land investors on regular relationships, and ask them for that referral as well, and call that other land investors, see what their experience has been.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Good. I think we've covered it.
I think so too.
All
All
right. Well,
right.
hopefully, this will give everybody at least a starting point on when and how to work with realtors in their land business. I think it could be very, very beneficial, but like everything in life, it's all about finding the right people to work with. I'm still trying to find the right partner in my business, but until then, I'm going to stick with Dave. Uh, no, seriously though, you want to find the right people, and it may seem great out the gate, and but everything is a trial, and you're building experience and trust and relationship. And if it's not working out, cut bait early, don't cut bait late, and then go find somebody else. But once you find that person, that's the right person, it could really, really pay huge dividends to your business.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, had a bit of fun, and walked away with some actionable insights that you can apply to your business. Dave and I have got some great content and interviews planned, so don't forget to rate and review, and of course subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. If we mention any interesting links or tools, you'll find them in the show notes. To learn more about Land.MBA, visit our website at, wait for it, Land.MBA. See you next time on the Land.MBA podcast.